It is midnight. The streets of Penang are supposed to be quiet at this hour. They are not. A procession is moving through the city under the light of lanterns and torches. At its center, an ornate imperial sedan chair, the kind carried by 4 bearers on wooden poles, moves through the crowd, its curtains closed, its occupant unseen. The people lining the street press forward, hands together, heads bowed. Some are in a state that is difficult to describe from the outside, a kind of suspended concentration, neither quite awake nor asleep, their bodies present and their attention somewhere else entirely. The sedan chair is being carried to the sea. When it reaches the water, it will be escorted onto a boat that will carry it out into the darkness of the strait. And the 9 imperial gods, the celestial rulers whose presence has been welcomed into the city for 9 days, will return to the water, to the realm beneath the waves where they reside, until they are invited again next year. This procession has been conducted in Penang for over a century. Most people who live in the city know it happens. Almost no visitor to Penang has ever seen it. This is the 9 Imperial Gods Festival, and it is one of the most extraordinary religious events in Southeast Asia. The 9 Imperial Gods Festival is one of the most widely observed festivals in the Chinese communities of Southeast Asia, and at the same time, one of the least known to the outside world. Where the Hungry Ghost Festival is visible in every street and impossible to miss, the 9 Imperial Gods Festival is conducted primarily within the bounds of the temples that observe it, more contained, more intensely ritual, and considerably more mysterious in its specific practices and its specific requirements. In Penang, the festival is observed by a significant number of temples across the island, each with its own traditions, its own specific practices, and its own community of devotees for whom the 9 days of the 9th lunar month represent the most intense period of religious engagement in the year. The scale and the seriousness of the observance in Penang is exceptional, even by the standards of Chinese diaspora communities where the festival is observed, a product of the specific depth and continuity of Hokkien Chinese religious practice in a city where that practice has been maintained without interruption for over 2 centuries. The festival is not secret, the temples are open, the processions move through public streets, but it is genuinely unfamiliar to most Western visitors in ways that require specific explanation rather than the casual observation that is possible with more tourist-facing events. This video provides that explanation. The theology, the ritual structure, the practices, the experience of being present, all of it. 1. The gods. Who are the 9 imperial gods? The 9 imperial gods, known in the Hokkien dialect as Kao Ong Ye, meaning 9 kings, are celestial rulers in the Taoist pantheon who occupy a position of great power and significance in the specific religious tradition of the Hokkien Chinese community. Their identity is rooted in a specific and beautifully elaborate piece of Taoist cosmology. The 9 imperial gods are the divine personifications of the 9 brightest stars in the northern hemisphere, the Big Dipper or Plough that is one of the most recognizable star formations in the night sky. In the Taoist tradition, these stars are not merely astronomical objects, but the residences of powerful divine rulers who govern specific aspects of human fate, health, and the spiritual order of the universe. The 9 gods are collectively understood as the controllers of human destiny, of life and death, of luck and misfortune, of health and illness, of official rank and social standing. Their power is immense, their favor is extraordinarily valuable, and their presence among the living, which occurs during the 9 days of the 9th lunar month when they descend from their stellar residences to visit the world below, is an occasion of the highest possible religious significance. The specific origin story of why the 9 imperial gods visit during the 9th lunar month involves a complex mythological narrative about celestial politics, maternal devotion, and the nature of divine obligation that varies in detail between different communities and different temple traditions. What is consistent across all versions is the understanding that the gods' visit is a genuine, reciprocal relationship between the divine and the community. The gods come because they have been properly invited, because the community has prepared itself to receive them with appropriate purity and respect, and the relationship between the divine and the community is one of ongoing mutual obligation, rather than simple one-way petition. This mutuality is one of the most important and most often misunderstood aspects of the festival. Western visitors sometimes perceive the elaborate rituals of the 9 Imperial Gods Festival as supplication, as a community abasing itself before powerful supernatural beings. This is not how it is experienced from within the tradition. The relationship is more like the relationship between honored guests and a host community. The gods have been invited, the community has prepared itself to receive them with appropriate honor, and the procession is conducted according to a protocol of mutual respect that has specific obligations on both sides. 2. The structure. 9 days of ceremony. The 9 Emperor Gods Festival runs for 9 days, from the 1st to the 9th day of the 9th lunar month, which typically falls in October in the Western calendar. Each day has its specific rituals and its specific place in the overall structure of the festival. The broad arc is one of arrival, intensification, and departure. The gods are welcomed on the first day, the relationship deepens through the middle days, and they are honored and sent home on the 9th. The festival begins before it begins, in a sense. The days preceding the first day of the 9th month are days of preparation. The temples are cleaned, the altars are dressed. The devotees who will participate in the festival begin their purification regimen. Vegetarianism starts before the official festival opening. The physical and spiritual preparation of the temple space and the community that will receive the gods is considered as important as the festival itself. On the first night of the 9th month, the welcoming ceremony takes place. The most dramatic version of this ceremony, the one observed by the major 9 Emperor Gods temples in Penang, involves a procession to the sea or to a body of water where the gods are symbolically received as they make the transition from their aquatic realm to the terrestrial one. The water connection is significant. The 9 Emperor Gods in this tradition are associated with water as the medium through which they travel between the heavenly and earthly realms, and the welcoming ceremony is conducted at the water's edge. The middle days of the festival are structured around the daily rituals of the temple, morning and evening prayers, offerings, the activities of the mediums who channel the gods' presence during this period, and the increasingly intense devotional engagement of the community. Each day brings a heightening of spiritual energy as the festival builds towards its climax. The 9th and final night is the most intense and the most witnessed by outside observers. The farewell procession, the escorting of the gods back to the sea, is a major event that draws large crowds and that moves through the streets of whatever neighborhood the temple is in. The sedan chairs, the lanterns, the mediums, the devotees in white, the specific sounds and the specific atmosphere of a community conducting a formal farewell to divine guests. This is what most people who have witnessed the 9 Emperor Gods Festival describe when they are asked what they remember most. 3. The purity rules. What devotees observe. The 9 Emperor Gods Festival is distinctive among Southeast Asian religious festivals in the rigor and the comprehensiveness of its purity requirements. The gods who are being hosted during these 9 days are celestial royalty of extraordinary power, and their presence in the human realm requires a corresponding elevation of the host community's spiritual state. The most fundamental requirement is vegetarianism. For the 9 days of the festival, practicing devotees eat no meat, no fish, no eggs, no dairy, a full vegan diet that is understood as an act of spiritual cleansing and as a mark of respect for the gods' purity. The vegetarianism is not merely dietary,
It is connected to the broader principle of ahimsa, non-harm, and to the idea that the consumption of meat involves contact with death and violence that is incompatible with the elevated spiritual state the festival requires. The white clothing worn by devotees during the festival is the most visible external marker of the purity requirements. White in this context means ritual cleanliness rather than mourning. It is the color of a state of being that is separated from the ordinary impurities of daily life. Within the temple precinct during the festival, shoes are removed. The ground is considered sacred space, and contact with the outside world's impurities through footwear is inappropriate. The head is covered by some devotees as an act of humility before the divine. The rules extend beyond the physical. Contact with death is prohibited during the festival period. A devotee who has attended a funeral or visited a dying person should not enter the temple until a purification period has passed. Contact with childbirth carries similar restrictions, reflecting the traditional understanding that birth and death are powerful liminal events that introduce a specific kind of energy incompatible with the festival's spiritual atmosphere. Sexual abstinence is observed by the most committed devotees. The question of how rigorously these rules are observed varies quite considerably across the community. For the mediums and the core ritual functionaries of the temples, the requirements are absolute and non-negotiable. Their role in channeling the divine presence during the festival means that any breach of purity protocol could have serious spiritual consequences. For ordinary devotees, the requirements are observed as seriously as the individual's level of commitment and the specific traditions of their temple community dictate. What is consistent is the understanding that the purity requirements are not arbitrary. They are the structural expression of a theology that takes the divine presence seriously, that understands the 9 emperor gods as beings of such extraordinary power and purity that the community receiving them must genuinely elevate itself to be worthy of their presence. The ritual structure and the purity rules are the community's side of the bargain in a genuine spiritual exchange.
4. The mediums, spirit possession in the 9th month. The most traumatic and the most externally visible aspect of the 9 Emperor Gods festival, the aspect that most profoundly unsettles Western visitors who encounter it without preparation, is the practice of spirit mediumship through which the gods manifest in human form during the 9 days. Spirit mediums, known in the Hokkien tradition as Tang Ki, or in Mandarin as Jit Tong, are individuals who have been identified, trained, and consecrated for the specific role of receiving divine possession. This is not a role that one chooses freely. The conventional account within the tradition is that the medium is chosen by the deity, that the capacity for divine reception is a spiritual gift rather than a skill that can be acquired through training alone, though training in the management and expression of the possession state is a significant part of the medium's preparation. During the 9 Emperor Gods festival, the mediums go into trance states in which one of the 9 Emperor Gods uses their body as a vehicle for interaction with the human community. The trance state is entered through ritualized processes involving music, incense, specific movements, and the deliberate cultivation of a state of consciousness in which the medium's ordinary personality recedes and the divine presence takes over. The physical intensity of the possession state is understood within the tradition as demonstrations of divine power, evidence that the body is genuinely occupied by a being for whom the normal limitations of human physiology do not apply. The healing and blessing activities that the possessed medium conducts are the most practically significant aspect of the mediumship from the community's perspective. People bring their concerns, illness, family problems, business difficulties, questions about fate and luck to the medium in possession state, and the God who speaks through the medium provides responses, prescriptions, and blessings that may include the writing of fu, sacred talismans that the petitioner carries with them as protection.
Whether you understand what you are witnessing as genuine divine possession, as a culturally elaborated form of altered consciousness, or as something for which Western psychological and anthropological frameworks are genuinely insufficient, the experience of watching a skilled Tang Ki in possession state is one of the most intense encounters available to a witness in Southeast Asia's religious landscape. It is not theater. It is not performance. It is a community engaging with the sacred in the most direct and physical way available to it. Treat it accordingly. 5. The processions. What moves through Penang streets? The processions of the Nine Emperor Gods Festival are what most visitors who encounter the festival remember first and longest. Two major processions frame the 9 days, the arrival on the first night and the departure on the 9th, and throughout the festival, smaller processions and ritual movements connect the temple to the water and to specific sacred sites in the surrounding neighborhood. The arrival procession on the first night begins at the sea. The temple community, priests, mediums, volunteers, devotees, carry lanterns and sacred implements to the waterfront, where a ritual is conducted to welcome the 9 emperor gods as they emerge from their aquatic realm. The precise form of this welcome varies between temples and between the specific traditions of different community groups within the 9 emperor gods' observance. What is consistent is the movement from the water to the temple, the physical enactment of the gods' arrival in the terrestrial world. The departure procession on the 9th night is the most impressive in scale. The imperial sedan chairs carrying the gods' images, covered, their occupants unseen, are escorted through the streets in a procession that includes elaborate ceremonial items, temple musicians, devotees carrying sacred objects, and the mediums who have been the gods' primary human representatives throughout the festival. The procession moves to the sea, where the ritual of departure is conducted. The gods' images are escorted onto boats that carry them out into the water, symbolically returning them to the realm from which they came. The specific spectacle of the departure procession at night, lanterns and torches moving through the streets, the sedan chairs carried through crowds of kneeling devotees, the specific quality of a community conducting a sincere farewell to divine guests it has hosted for 9 days, is one of the great free spectacles available in Penang. It asks nothing of you as an observer except respectful presence. You do not need to understand the theology. You do not need to share the belief. You need only to be there, to watch, and to bring the quality of attention that allows you to see what is actually happening, rather than simply registering that something interesting is occurring. Street photography during the processions is generally accepted, but the conventions of respectful photography apply with particular force here. Do not use flash close to the mediums in trance states. Do not obstruct the procession route for the sake of a photograph. Do not push through the crowd of kneeling devotees to get a closer angle. The people around you are engaged in genuine religious practice. Your role as an observer is observer, not participant, and the observer's role requires a specific kind of discipline.
6. Where to experience it in Penang. Several temples in Penang observe the 9 Emperor Gods Festival, and the experience differs meaningfully between them in terms of scale, tradition, and the specific practices they maintain. The major temples associated with the festival in Penang include Tobu Kong at Jelutong, the Penang Tobu Kiong at Bukit Mertajam on the mainland, and various other clan and community temples across the island that maintain 9 Emperor Gods traditions. The Jelutong Temple is one of the most established and most visited during the festival period. It has the infrastructure to accommodate significant visitor numbers, and its processions on the 1st and 9th nights draw substantial crowds. For a first encounter with the 9 Emperor Gods Festival, the Jelutong Temple provides the most accessible entry point without sacrificing the authenticity of the observance. The mainland temples, those in Butterworth and Bukit Mertajam on the Penang mainland, accessible by ferry or bridge, tend to be less crowded with outside visitors and may offer a more intimate encounter with the festival's ritual dimensions. For visitors who are genuinely curious about the theological and ritual depth of the festival, rather than primarily the spectacle of the processions, the smaller mainland temples offer a different quality of experience. The practical logistics of attending are straightforward. Check the 9th lunar month dates for your specific travel year. The dates shift annually with the lunar calendar, typically falling in October. Dress modestly and in colors other than black, which is associated with mourning and is inappropriate in the temple context during this festival. Remove shoes before entering temple precincts. Follow the instructions of temple volunteers regarding where visitors may and may not stand or walk. Observe the mediums in possession states from a respectful distance. If you intend to be present for the departure procession on the 9th night, position yourself along the procession route well before the procession begins. It draws large crowds and the best viewing positions fill early. The procession moves at the pace determined by the ritual requirements rather than by any published schedule, so be prepared to wait and to follow the procession's own rhythm rather than imposing your own. Food during the festival period at and around the major temples shifts entirely to vegetarian offerings. The food stalls that set up around 9 Emperor Gods temple sites during the 9 days serve exclusively vegetarian food in compliance with the festival's purity requirements. This is genuinely good vegetarian food cooked by people who take both the cooking and the purity requirement seriously. Eating at one of these stalls, watching the temple activity around you, in the company of devotees who have been observing this festival for their entire lives, this is the kind of immersive cultural experience that most travel infrastructure systematically prevents by insulating visitors from the actual texture of the places they visit. The 9 Emperor Gods festival stalls require no insulation, just presence and an appetite. The 9 Emperor Gods Festival has been conducted in Penang since the Hokkien Chinese community first brought its traditions to this island over 2 centuries ago. The 9 days of the 9th lunar month, the white clothing, the vegetarian food, the mediums in trance, the processions to the sea, the sedan chairs, the lanterns, and the farewell on the 9th night have been observed continuously through colonialism, through occupation, through independence, through every transformation that Penang has undergone. They are observed because the community that observes them understands them as genuine, not as heritage performance, not as cultural tourism, as a living obligation to 9 divine rulers whose visit to the human world requires 9 days of preparation, 9 days of elevated existence, and 9 days of genuine reciprocal engagement between the celestial and the terrestrial. That understanding, the understanding of festival as genuine spiritual exchange rather than cultural production, is the thing that makes the 9 Emperor Gods Festival worth seeking out. It is a festival that has been made for visitors. It has not been packaged. It has not been simplified. It is exactly what it is, conducted for the reasons it has always been conducted, in the places it has always been conducted. And it is extraordinary. Find it, be there. Pay attention in the way that things conducted without regard for your presence deserve. If this video added something to your understanding of what Penang actually is, hit the like button, subscribe for more deep content on Malaysian history and culture, and drop a comment below. Have you witnessed the 9 Emperor Gods Festival or any spirit possession ceremony in Southeast Asia? What happened to you when you did? I read everything. See you in the next one.